Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello. Testing one, two, three. Testing one, two, three. Hello. Testing one, two, three. Hello, testing one, two, three. Hello, testing one, two, three. Hello, testing. One, two, three. Hello, testing one, two, three. Hello, testing 1 2 3. Hello, testing 1 2 3. Hello, testing 1 2 3. Hello, hello, hello. Testing 1 2 3. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, testing 1 2 3. Hello. Testing 1 2 3. Hello. Alrighty, let's get this going. Okay, so, ba-da. Okay, see, I don't know how much I'm gonna be doing or what I'm gonna be doing today. If audio's not coming out good or if it's coming out messed up, I apologize for that. Okay, so the compressor goes to the condenser, right? Yeah. Okay, compressor goes to the condenser, and then we got that going into the evaporator. Whatever stuff happens in the condenser, whatever affects whatever's happening in the condenser, we have hot stuff as a consequence. Whatever's happening in the evaporator, we have cold stuff being the consequence. So we have so if if there is what's it called? If someone is coming up with the names for the devices or for the stuff in anything in general, they might keep it simple. So in the case of trying to remember which line is which, it would make sense that they would go with the simple label of the line between the evaporator to the compressor being called the suction line. Right? Because if what you want is to have a cold room and you're taking this process that happens in the evaporator, you're taking advantage of it by cold stuff is the consequence, and then you just put a fan and boom, you have air conditioner. So once you're done with that process, obviously, I mean, if they're going to keep reusing the refrigerant over and over and over again, then they would need to suck it back and to start the process over again. So it makes sense that they would name it suction line. And another way I can remember is like there's only two options for naming the lines. So one side is gonna be the suction line, and the other line or the other name could be or is what's it called? The gas line or the vapor line. Obviously, not the gas line, but it's probably gonna be so the vapor line. Some way where they phrase it where it's like the vapor side, vapor line. Saw a diagram that had it labeled refrigerant filled tubing on that side. Okay. And obviously I'm just trying to remember and study this stuff. So any and all information is not accurate or gonna stop with me. You should check it with the professional. Alright. So this is just to help me remember it. So I'm gonna say stuff that is incorrect. Again, just check everything I say with the professional before you check everything that I say with professional, and then go with whatever they say. All right. I don't know. I don't accept liability for anything that I say, for any of the information that I say here. Okay. For any information. All right. I don't know if I want it to be like that. Okay, let's run it. I don't know if I should just finish each section as we go, or come back at the end and do it. I have a feeling that I should be fixing it as I go. I won't have to go back. Take hours to fix it. To finish it, I mean. Okay, and then what else? So from the compressor, I saw was there's a condenser fan or condenser. That again is gonna blow. I think I got it. I don't know which. I think I ended up copying mixed together as a system and since again some accurate to remember, then later on when I would accurate or not I'll keep when we start recording. So there was a condenser fan before the condenser, and the label for that, or the whatever, the description for that was ambient out, which is also means outside temperature. Oh, sorry, outside air in. So I guess in a split system, it would be. I guess the condenser is outside, or one of. I mean, I don't know. I guess the condenser is outside, but I think I saw the dude on YouTube working on a compressor outside, so I have no idea. But I'm guessing it's outside air in because they put in parentheses outside on a split system. And then I guess on a single system, if it's inside, it just means like wherever room it's in, right? So outside, air in. So they're blowing air. Blowing air towards the and or how I remembered the words I used to remember it was they're taking advantage of a thing that happens. So when you, I guess you run this liquid refrigerator, run this refrigerator, you do some stuff to it. Hot stuff or heat comes from it, and then when you do this other process to it, cold stuff comes out. So in this situation, it looks like in the condenser, you put the fan on it, and then you'll be blowing the hot process out. So blowing that hot air into the room. Also, they call right at the exit of the compressor, they call that the compressor outlet, and then obviously on the other side, right when you get into the tubing that is right before the compressor, or it could be the actual it's called compressor inlet. And then again, we have discharge line going into sucking the refrigerant back so that we could reuse it. So, because it's not just one-time use. We're gonna keep using it. Both processes, not just the one, not just the cold. But okay, yeah, it's because it's heating and air conditioning. Okay, so we're gonna reuse it for refrigerant. So in order to bring it back to the beginning, back to the so that's called the suction line. The other line is the vapor line, or the vapor side, or the gas side, or whatever it is. But also we have the discharge line. So gotta push the refrigerant forward, discharge it. Some word that means like push it forward. So let's say went with discharge. Okay. Now we're discharge line headed towards the condenser. On the way there, we have a fan that is blowing that. We'll find out later if I'll find out later if that is might should find out if that is the actual outside temperature, like I said, the condenser's outside, or if it's just along the way while we're in the discharge line from the compressor, we're gonna have next to us that is also going in. So we're going into the condenser. Both of us are going in the discharge line from the refrigerant and the discharge line. And that air because of the fan. Okay, let me finish this race, and we'll see if man, I don't know if the vitals come through with the car going. Let's see. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay, perfect. So with the hilarious, sounds like I'm in the car. So with the refrigerant in the discharge line going into the condenser, there is there is also the, I guess, additional temperature that will be going in. Additional temperature that will be going into the condenser is the air from the outside air going in, the ambient air going in because of the fan. All right. What do I remember about the condenser? Oh, right, let's back up a little. Oh, actually, do I want to do, where am I? Okay, so at the condenser, let me back up. So, okay, when it gets into the compressor, it will be a vapor. Okay. Well, I really can't do both of these things at once. Alright, let me just calm down. Let's see, where am I? So gonna be a vapor when it goes into the compressor, right? 100% vapor. Okay, so here's how I remembered it. Remember the next stuff. Um, so I guess it's gonna be at a certain PSIG. Okay, and then it's gonna be, if you look, I guess they discovered like on a chart and they put it on a chart when some refrigerant is at this PSIG, it's gonna be this temperature, and then when it's this PSIG, it's gonna be this temperature, and so forth. So on the chart that I'm assuming they made or found out, discovered, when it comes out of before it gets into the compressor, it's gonna be, let's say, 100, 125 degrees Fahrenheit. No, okay, the PSIG, I think it's like 278 PSIG, and then the temperature, maybe lower than that, maybe 240 or something. 240 PSIG, and then 125 degrees Fahrenheit, right? So when it goes into the compressor, I guess it'll compress it somehow, but I don't know that for sure. Um, it is going to make it hotter. Okay, it'll make it hotter. And then, but the thing is, the PSIG, from what I remember, it stays the same, right? Okay, so the problem is they need to get this refrigerant, to a liquid, because I guess I think I read something where like the gas being with the liquid is the gas is like the thing that'll either remove temperature from the liquid, will reduce the temperature in the liquid, or increase the temperature in the liquid. So I guess that's why they needed the vapor with the liquid to exist. I think I read something like that. Okay, so what they want to do at the next process is make sure it is a liquid, and in order to get to a liquid, when it's a vapor, it has to reduce temperature. Remember the solid states we learned in school? Liquid, gas, and then I guess, was it physical or something? Solid? Okay. So to go from vapor to gas to water, it has to lose temperature. If you increase the temperature of the water, it'll turn into fog, steam, vapor. Okay. So when this thing is able to carry more heat, if we want to turn it back to liquid, we gotta drop the temperature of said liquid. But the problem is, it's hotter now. So before we even think about getting it back to 125 and then dropping that temperature down, we got to get rid of this additional temperature that we accrued in this compressor. So it goes in at, let's say it goes in at 125 degrees Fahrenheit. It could come out to like, by the time it gets out of the compressor, it could be at 200 degrees Fahrenheit. These are like, when I first read that, 200 degrees Fahrenheit, that was pretty crazy. So that's how I like remember it. Okay, so then it'll be at a certain PSIG coming out. I think it stays the same PSIG throughout the compressor. So let's say it stays at 278, but it's so the correct temperature, whatever is on that chart, is 125 degrees for this refrigerant R22 at that PSIG. Okay, when it comes out of the compressor, it's the same PSIG, but now it's a higher temperature. We want to get this down to liquid, so we gotta reduce the temperature. Okay, but now we have this additional heat added onto the vapor. That is called that's called superheat. Okay, where am I? Okay. So in order to find, so remember when I said we added heat to the refrigerant. Normally, at a certain PSIG, it correlates, or it is a certain temperature, and then at a different PSIG, it's this temperature. And I guess somebody discovered that, and they wrote it on a chart. So at 278 PSIG, this refrigerant is supposed to be, let's say, 125 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. When it's done with the compressor, it's still 278 degrees. 278 PSIG, but now it is 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So that little process or equation or discovery of at this PSIG it's this temperature, at this PSIG it's this temperature, what they labeled or named it was saturation temperature. So the saturation temperature for 278 PSIG is your 125 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm sure if you just break that word down, it'll literally be like what it is. Whatever saturation is, it'll literally be probably like the point of like if you add a little bit more, if you remove some heat, it'll turn into liquid, or if you add some, it's something literally to do with saturation probably, which I'm remembering now something about like that in the evaporator, but continue forward. So if you take this saturation temperature, whatever PSIG it is, it's supposed to be this temperature. If you take so what you're going to do is take your total heat is what I called it. When it comes out of the compressor, it's 200 degrees Fahrenheit, right? Okay. If you take away, but it's still 278 degrees, 278 PSIG. If you look on the little chart, I'm assuming, there's a chart, it's supposed to be 125 degrees Fahrenheit. So what you do to find the superheat, which is the difference between these two, your total heat minus your saturation temperature. All you gotta do is just subtract them. So you get 200 degrees Fahrenheit minus 125 degrees Fahrenheit, and you end up with 75. So what they were labeling it as, or how they say it is, you have 75 degrees of superheat. So we want to eventually turn the vapor to liquid. So already at 125, it's going to be however hard it's going to be. But now it's at 200 degrees Fahrenheit, it's going to be a little bit harder. That difference in how hard it's going to be is superheat. And again, I'm just using these words to remember, so this stuff's not going to be like accurate. Just ask a professional for the information, or check whatever I say with a professional before you use it. Okay. So we got the superheat that comes as a consequence of the compressor, because when it goes into the compressor, it's already a vapor. Okay, so we got it. First of all, we just got to get rid of the superheat before we even start to get rid of how hard it's going to be to get rid of the 125 degrees Fahrenheit to make it a by the time it gets to on the picture, it kind of showed. I don't know how accurate it is, but it showed like pretty early on in the evaporator, the superheat was already gone. I mean, I don't know how accurate the picture is, but I don't know what I'm talking about, so that's how I just remembered it. And then later on, if I take the class, I'll just fix or erase accordingly. Okay, so at the beginning, am I getting this wrong? At the beginning of the evaporator. No, I think I'm right. I'm okay here. At the beginning of the beginning. Wait, what? The evaporator is called evaporator because it evaporates. So that means it went from a liquid to a gas. So I probably said wrong things in the condenser. Condenser went from vapor to liquid. Okay, I definitely said some things wrong, I think, in the condenser part. So yeah, I said vapor, right? I said it's a vapor before it gets in the compressor, and then it gets even hotter. It's a hotter vapor. Pretty sure that's wrong. All right, let me just keep going and see if I could figure it out or correct it without looking at the information. Okay, so by the way, I went on a little S turn right there. So when it goes into the evaporator, it's 100% liquid or vapor, but I'm forgetting right now. Let's say, what? The evaporator, before the compressor is the evaporator. Before the compressor is the evaporator. Before the compressor is the evaporator. Oh, I got the order wrong. I'm getting the order wrong. I did the condenser into the compressor into the evaporator. That's why I'm tripping. That's why I'm tripping. Okay. So the compressor goes into the discharge line, which also there's a fan there that takes in or adds ambient air in. Then they go into the together, or however, I don't know. The refrigerant as a vapor goes into the condenser. At the condenser, there's a metering device before the evaporator. At the condenser, interesting. Okay, I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess. This is the one where it's 100% vapor, or it's 100% one, and then 100% the opposite at the beginning of it, close to the beginning of it, and then close to the end of it. So I'll say vapor, and then we'll see if I'm right. Okay, so vapor first, 100% vapor. And then by the end of it, it is a liquid, 100% liquid before the end of it. Again, on the way, that's how the picture shows it, and I'm just a regular civilian look at it. That's what I think, but I understand that I have no idea about what I'm talking about, no idea of this, so that the picture could be like in reality it could be like way longer, but that's what I'm doing. Those are the words that I'm using to remember in the first place, and then I'll correct it later if I take the class, and then adjust the information I have accordingly. So to remember it, I remember at the beginning of the condenser, one of them, either evaporator or condenser, one of them has 100% in towards the, like the still in the beginning, still in the very beginning, and then still in the very beginning towards what I thought it would be. I was shocked at how early it was. And then one of them is 100% this, and the other, and at the end, same thing. Sooner than I thought. Um, is the opposite state. So I'm gonna go with 100% vapor when it's before it's going in, and 100% liquid before it leaves. All right, so we're done with the condenser. Then we bypass or we go through a dryer. And I remember they also said something like, I think it's this line that can be super long. And I remember one of the lines has to be covered with what's it called? Some type of uh, to prevent the temperature from going up or down. Some type of rubber. It's like some type of sweater rubber for the pipe for the tubing. I'm not sure if it's this one, but one of the lines is like could be. There was a note saying that it could be super long. Okay. I think that was because, like on the split system, the condenser could be inside the house or something like that. And then I guess the other one would be outside. Uh, so, at, um, so at some point it's gonna bypass a dryer. I don't know what that does yet. And then before it gets to the evaporator, hold on. Yeah, before it enters the evaporator. Wait, I gotta remember this. Before it enters the evaporator. Where is the metering device? The metering device is before the evaporator. I remember this. Okay, so here's the problem. I might be mixing up the split system with the single system, single unit. So either way, this is just to remember some of the stuff, and then I'll update accordingly in my brain. Okay. So the metering device on one of the systems, which I can't remember which, had a metering device before it. The metering device, the way I remembered it, was that they said it was the tubing is like way small, way small. Like the way I remember it is the what's it called? The little pump that you use to pump up a tire, a bicycle tire. That little needle that they have is like smaller than that. They were trying to they were trying to emphasize how small it is. That's how I remember it. So in this, when they have the refrigerant, when they force it to go through that, it's able to change the state of the refrigerant. So before it goes into the evaporator, it is a liquid. I'm gonna guess because the evaporator evaporates and the condenser shrinks it or condenses it, or I forgot, I don't know what a condense means, but I think it means shrink. So it's gonna turn it into, I'm gonna say, I know one of the processes has it like 75%. The metering device turns it to 75% liquid, 25% vapor, or the other way around. But it's 75% this, 75, and then 25% the other thing. So let's say 75% liquid, 25% vapor. Okay, my muscle memory is like clicking, starting to click in now as I say that. So that I'm pretty sure that's it. That I wrote it that way. So the meter device is going to turn into 75% liquid, 25% vapor. Okay, now then alongside there, I think either a split system or the other one, there's a fan there as well, and that is going to have warm return air in. That's going to be blowing in against the evaporator. And then that is what's going to blow whatever this evaporator does, hot or cold consequence is going to blow this into the room. Okay. I'll be right back. Be right back. Okay, so we were at the so at the evaporator, before I get to the evaporator, we got the metering device. And okay, so I know the metering device converts it 75%. One of the states, 25% of the opposite state, the other state. Okay, and then they also had a fan near there, or right up, it was right above it in the diagram. So again, I don't know how that translates in real life, but that one had on one of the systems, it was hot air in at that point. On this system, it changed the words. I remember because I got it wrong a couple times. Instead of hot air in, they had warm return air in. So the beginning, it's gonna be 75% of the evaporator, because at the evaporator it's gonna be 75% liquid, 25% vapor. Okay. And then I believe it's this one. I'm bringing up the diagram in my brain, so I'm gonna be accurate here to what I remember based off how accurate the diagram is in my brain, and muscle memory. 50-50 is the next note on it. At the halfway of the evaporator, it's gonna be 50% liquid and 50% vapor. And then before the end of it, it's gonna be 100% vapor. Wow, I really got these mixed up. Yeah, it's gonna be 100% vapor. Did I get these mixed up? It's gonna be 100% vapor before it leaves the evaporator. Okay. Now it heads into the compressor. Okay, now here's where we're... Yeah, the diagrams, they had their compressor like at this corner of the imagine a square. They had the compressor on this corner of the square, and then on this diagram they had the compressor on the other side of the square. So that's messing me up because again, I don't know what I'm talking about. I just remembered what the diagrams were and just spewing it back out as best as I can remember. Okay, so when it leaves the evaporator, it is a vapor, 100%, 100% vapor. That is called, the line between the evaporator to the compressor is the discharge line. Okay. Then it goes into the compressor inlet. Okay. This side, there was also a note that said this is like the cold side. Cold side. Okay. It goes into the compressor at a certain. This is. I'm like muscle memorying one diagram and then the other diagram. I need to merge them together. I mean, whether it's... Problem is, I think one's a single system and one's a split system, so it's gonna... I don't know if that's correct or not. So, for the sake of just trying to remember and study this stuff, even if it's wrong, I'm just gonna say it. Okay, so I'm gonna start mixing up the single system and split system. Start mixing the diagrams. Well, the information is probably might be wrong. So goes into the compressor at 100% vapor. It's gonna be at a certain PSIG to I think they had 278 PSIG. That means it's gonna be... Wow, this is pretty difficult mixing up the diagrams. Okay, let's just keep going. Let's just keep running with it. See what happens. 278 PSIG at 125 degrees Fahrenheit. The compressor is going to compress it, I guess. Compress it. It's already a vapor. So it's going to get hotter within the compressor and it can reach temperatures as high as 200 degrees Fahrenheit. That was crazy to hear. That's how I remember it. 200. That's crazy. I assume it's crazy. Okay, so the next process that we're going to want to do is turn it back into a liquid. So 125 degrees Fahrenheit, let's just say it's hard to bring it down to a temperature that would cause it to turn into a liquid. So with this new temperature that it is, being 200 as opposed to 125, which is what it should be according to this chart that somebody discovered, it's going to be even harder now because 200 is way higher. I'm assuming it's way higher than 125. I don't know how extreme that is, but I'm assuming it's extreme. So this difference of 125, they have a name for it, between what it's supposed to be, 125, at this PSIG, at 200 degrees Fahrenheit, they have a name for that. It's called superheat. Okay. If they ask me to find the superheat, I would just get the total heat before it entered the compressor, which would be, I think the diagram was for a refrigerant, R22, and the PSIG was 278. So maybe, I don't know if they're gonna have me look at the chart for 278, like look up the chart and see what's the temperature linked to that PSIG, or you just take the, what's it called? Just take the temperature of at the. I don't know if you should look at the chart or just take the temperature itself before the compressor. Either way, it goes into compressor at, let's say, 125 degrees Fahrenheit, and then it comes out at 200 degrees Fahrenheit. You subtract those two, you end up with 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and that is your superheat. The way you say that is 75 degrees of superheat. Okay. The compressor before it, the opening into the compressor is called the compressor inlet, and then the exit out of the compressor is called the compressor outlet. All right, now we're back into the discharge line, and there is a fan there as well that is blowing ambient, also known as outside, air in. Okay. Now, right now, the refrigerant is not just a vapor when it exited the evaporator. The compressor makes it super hot, so now it's a superheated vapor, I believe. That's what it's called. Now it goes into the condenser at 100% vapor. Only one of the processes showed that 75% and 25% at the beginning, and then at the middle it was 50-50, and then towards the end it was 100%. The other one, it was just 100% on top and then 100% on bottom. So I'm gonna say this is 100% vapor at the beginning and then 100% liquid at the end. So that temperature that is linked to the PSIG, okay, so at this point it's called a superheated vapor, right? We need to drop it back down to the normal temperature, which would be 125. Right now we're at like 200. So you get rid of that superheat, and then you'll end up back at your saturation temperature, which is the name of that temperature where if you add a little bit of heat, if you remove a little bit of heat, it'll turn into a liquid. That's the saturation temperature, if I remember correctly. The note was something like, if you add, I think it was add or subtract. If you do one of those, it's going to turn into the other state. That's like the limit. You can't go any more than that. If you go any more than that, you're going to change the state of the liquid, the refrigerant. Okay, so yeah, the condenser on one of the diagrams only had two notes. That was that 100%, 100%, and then if you saturation temperature, if you remove blah 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 blah, it'll turn into the other state. That's like the limit. Okay, so at the end, so before it gets to the condenser, I believe it loses all its superheat, or at least maybe early on in the condenser. So then it just so it's back at its saturation temp pretty early in the picture, and then it goes into, it converts into 100% liquid, and then just repeat the process. Goes back into this line. They they were noting it as refrigerant filled tubing, which is also, I've heard people say like vapor side or gas side or something like that. No, this is the liquid line. This is the liquid line. Yeah. Okay. This is the liquid line. And then gas side, vapor side is the opposite on the other side after the evaporator. Okay, yeah. That would make more sense. I also made a way to remember because they had one part of the system being like in red and then the other side was in blue. Like the tubing that they had, they highlighted it in red and blue. So after the compressor, the note that I put, because of the way they had it, was before the compressor, which is the compressor inlets, and then right before the evaporator, that's where I made like a little mark. On one side is cold, the other side is hot. The evaporator to the compressor is cold, and then the compressor to the evaporator is hot. That's the liquid line. Okay, then you got, at some point it passes a dryer after the condenser. Don't know what the dryer does yet. And then it'll again repeat the process. It'll go into the metering device, which will convert it to 75% liquid, 25% vapor. There's also a fan there, and the fan does. One system had, I think, hot air in. Another system had warm return air in. Blow that up against the evaporator. The evaporator at the halfway point becomes 50-50. 50% liquid, 50% vapor. And then at the end, it is a complete vapor. Now it's in the suction line, and then boom, boom. Repeat the process. Okay. Okay, let me see what I have here. Yeah. Oh no. I think we got it wrong again. That is the... Okay, when I drew the diagram, when I mixed them, and I drew it on paper, I flipped them around. So I think we're fine. Evaporator, 75% liquid, 25% vapor, 50-50. 100% vapor when it ends. It's the cold side, it's the suction line into the compressor. And then goes into the discharge line, compressor inlet, outlet, into the condenser, which does hot side, vapor points, 100% saturated. Gotta take away all the superheat before you do anything, before you even get to the hard point of just removing the heat off of 125. Liquid line. Yeah, we're good. I remembered it correctly. Okay. Now I just gotta find out, because I mixed the two diagrams in my head, so I just gotta find out which one's accurate. Just because I remember it correctly doesn't mean it's actually correct. That's pretty cool. So if I remember correctly, you can slide pretty good down here. I was thinking to go out and then come back in, but it seems like that's pretty good already. If I'm gonna add to this part, with this, I want to make sure I keep the speed going in. The problem was, like, the way it is, like, literally, it's gonna be, it's really hard making these downhill tracks, because it's hard to get them leveled like this exactly. But let's try it out, because could be pretty awesome. Imagine you have a lot of speed. You do a turn here. Even if it's a tight turn, if it's a tight turn, that could be cool. To be able, it needs to be a high, either before the rock, at the rock. After the rock would kind of be, wouldn't be that fun. Be cooler if it was before, aesthetically, or if it went at it. That would be cool, driver-wise, if you get good. Where are we? What would happen? Yeah, that's why I gave up. Okay, we got something here. Yeah, that'd be pretty sick if you could just, you're drifting or sliding through here quickly. Your butt is facing the rock, or your 75%, 25% is facing the rock. You go. Definitely don't want to lose this turn. So as soon as you are forward, straight, turn out, turn in. If you want to keep this angle, would it be possible? You would have to be sliding early, and then be on the go, like here. You might come out a little bit, which I guess would be okay. And you can keep your angle. Okay, but let's see though. Let's see. Okay. Okay, that's gonna be like insane. Yeah, that's actually crazy. How the fuck would... Yeah, who's making that turn? That's crazy. Problem is in Forza Horizon 5, the brakes are pretty crazy, man. Pretty crazy. I wonder if it'll be fun. So it kind of ruins like the fun, because, at least for me, because I don't play a lot of Forza Horizon 5. I have a lot of muscle memory from, Or at least I have way more muscle memory from the older Forzas. From Forzas. So I haven't overrode those muscle memories. So this, when I break, I with like Forza memory, and I put it over here in Horizon, I end up breaking way too hard. It translates where I break way too hard. The tires are just too good. The braking is too um, over exaggerated, I think. I don't know a lot about cars, but I think it is. So I don't want to lose like a lot of speed because the whole point of what I'm trying to do is I want to replicate the feeling of driving on Kaido. So I want like high speed turns. And the fastest way to get through, I don't think I should limit it. Like the fastest way down the mountain is if you slide really fast. I don't think I want it to be. I don't want it to be limited to just that. I want it to be if you slide really fast, you could still be top. You could still be number one. But if you're a really good circuit turner, turn-based driver, then I mean you're fine. You're not like at a You're not. If you're good enough, you'll be fine. Like if you're good enough, you can still be number one. But it's more that I want the super fast slide turns to be able to be number one. It's more that as opposed to trying to get rid of circuit-based turning being number one. So, like I said, this turn's gonna be crazy, like high speed, and then how exactly are you gonna turn in here? I'm going to have to add another one, but I mean, I guess you could drive it out. First, drive it in, so that way you can drive it out, and you carry like a specific momentum. Build up, build up, build up, and then you'll be able to like kind of take this with your force and energy going this way enough, and then you gather a little bit, probably a halfway point, and then you're good to go. That's pretty crazy. Okay, let's see. And then at what point, because I need to gather all this speed back, so that way I can not miss out on this. Is that going to be 3 lengths or 5? I hope it should link up pretty easily. It's not going to be crazy, pretty sure. Thank you. Perfect. Okay. My preference is going to be towards the rock. Okay. Will they just merge for me and I'll be good to go? Oh, they might just solve my problem for me. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. Plus you're braking and you're turning. Okay, it should be fine. Gonna have to get on the gas sooner. That'll put me on the train track to going. Before that point, I need to be on the train track. Which is if I started the gas sooner. No, almost. Lost it. How far was I? Wow. That's crazy. Okay, so the question comes up, is this doable? I want to end up on the last line of the initial street. That'd be freaking sick. Fuck. But do I need to be going like way faster? That's what I'm saying. Like, is that even possible? Because I feel like for this car, I have to be turned in. My nose has to be way in sooner. Yeah, this whole process needs to be occurring like better. Okay, I still need more turn in. Or I need it to be happening earlier. So, what does that mean? Okay, maybe try the same result, but quicker. Quicker, quicker, quicker. So what does that mean? Alright, let's try flicking it with exactly what we did. Okay, there we go. Not terrible. Just look at the line to see if it's doable. I mean, like, I think everything is pretty much doable in the car, so I'm not the best person to ask. I don't have to worry too much about if that's going to be race-worthy, doable. If anything, I could just add one more lane. But I mean, I have... Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It'd be incredibly difficult to get this close anyways. So I guess whoever's trailing them could do the same shit. Or go out a little bit further in order to end up this lane with momentum to try and pass. Like they have lane to pass. Okay. Alright, let's see. So we're looking to keep the speed up. A tight turn. Oh shit, I thought that was my rock that I was gonna... Oh no, I'm not at the... Okay. What happened? How did I mix that up? Or is this is my rock, yeah. This is my rock. Okay. I'm tripping. This might just be braking and sliding. This is incredibly difficult. Oh, wow. Okay. I don't think I'm gonna be able to make a straightaway out of this by driving. I don't. Whoever is doing this is gonna be insane. So you need to slow down enough. You need to reduce your momentum so that way you can make this right to go right far enough, not fall off. Basically, everywhere. You need enough momentum to go to the right. So you go right enough right there. But then you're going to have to build your momentum back up so you can get to the speed that I want. So on that straightaway, we can have the same turn that we had earlier before all this. That is going to be... That's crazy. And very insanely high skill. That's incredible. Can I do it? How would I have to do it? I could do an insane turn in. That might be it. I also might need more speed. But how would I get more speed? I need to add more area. I could add more area or more street. Way, gentle, very smooth, gentle curve. So that way maybe we can get, ideally, at least one more length by adding a curve, a gentle curve. But then it would make this a little bit easier of a turn in. This is insane. There's only 2 lanes here to turn in. I don't know if this is like necessary or I'm just going extreme on this turn. Yeah, so I gotta be careful with not being a developer and wanting to have everything be like skill based, or especially if I'm just everything can be skill based, because the user who's driving this, unless they're gonna be driving it like tens, it's gonna be annoying at first. Get the barriers up because the barriers will take like 2 hours. So we're able to avoid the rock, but can't get straight on. We're close to being straight, so that way we can accelerate. Could try to hold neutral and rev it, and then let go at the appropriate point, which would probably be like right here. But I have no. I probably done that 1 to 5 times in 10 years of Forza. Hold the gear and then let it go. Yeah. I think it's called rev matching, I think. Well, let's try it then. Hold the clutch, hold the gas, let it go. Yeah, see, it just doesn't. It's not enough speed here. So probably like a 300 horsepower car, torque car. But at the same time, the problem with those cars is that they're not made out of carbon fiber, so they're gonna be like 3,000 pounds at best. So we might have to add some straightaways. That kind of blows. That would have been sick. I mean, if you want to do it by yourself, you can make a turn out of it. Okay. Decisions. Alright, either way, let's try and get down this. Let's move on. Let's see. See if I can come up with something. So this is a turn in early and slide, and then you end up like around here. Alright, end up over here. Might add some more lanes this way. Okay. Alright, here we go again. Excuse me. So I see what I'm thinking about, but the problem is, put aside that rock right there for a second. So here's what I'm thinking. Okay. I want to end up going around this again. What I was thinking was, okay, at this point we drop. Excuse me. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Okay, whatever. Oh no. No, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Alright. I was gonna try and have those be there, so I wouldn't have to line them up myself. Dang it. Oh, you know what? I might not have to. Okay. Copy one. Copy another one. One of these is gonna go up. Okay, 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 okay. Okay, good. So now the question is, how far down do I want that incline? Because we're gonna come back around this way. And we're gonna end up over here. Whoops. Whoops. There's no way I can add trees because one tree it will cost so much towards towards this thing. It'll cost so much just for one tree. I probably have at least done 100 of these straightaways. One tree will do all that. Let's see. So I want to try to like how to use the natural terrain already to make it look cool. So kind of, I just gotta find the right. I mean, there's not much options here, so. How much mudslide do I want there to be? Pretty much. And then sometimes, even though the rock's not there, the car will feel it. Probably there is fine, like safe. There's the question right there. Let's just leave it. That's probably fine, but we'll go right there. Alrighty. I mean, I guess I'd take what we can get. Some of it on the road, I think. Do I put the gutter on this side? I don't think this makes much of a difference anyways. If it did, that'd be really cool. Maybe if we add the rain, then this will make a lot of difference compared to this. If that's the case, then we could probably put this over here. That way, so have more. The more cement, the better to race. Okay. And then a lot of bends and stuff is, I mean, I want to keep it as straight as possible so we can get as much speed and to make it easier to learn, easier to drive. I think one of the things you need to think about is how much practice do you want the player to have, to need to do the track or the game. So yeah, it'd be really cool, more prettier if we have it like go along here, 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 then into connecting back over here. back into here. But that's just a lot. That's just a lot. There's a lot of cost there. You gotta know how to drive, and not just drive. You gotta know how to drive here. You gotta remember it. So before people could even race each other, which is the whole point of this, for I want to race people that I care about. Before they could even race against me, they would have to learn the track, which is like, how much time are you gonna be able to be playing video games and learning? I mean, you can learn when you're at work. If you know what, if you already have work down to science, you could have this going, remembering the track and you're running through it in your brain, as long as it doesn't interfere with your customer service and your product or your service that you're doing. But so unfortunately, I think it's gonna have to just be a straightaway to keep it simpler and more accessible. Plus, I don't necessarily like driving on the controller anymore. Like it's very hard to turn in softly on the controller. Like I think you need too many. I think you need too much hours of experience on the controller to turn softly, which is how I want to start. I want to turn with the minimal amount of inputs and least direction. I think that is where you'll find a quicker drive. So I guess straight away works out for me too. Okay. Bear